So, Jesse, there is a way that you can reduce your carbon emissions, and I don't think you've ever thought of it before.
Driving an electric car.
No, you think of that all the time.
Okay, going vegan.
Yep, that's definitely a way you can reduce them, but that you've already thought of that. Well, I guess it wasn't fair of me because you haven't thought of it. But our guest today has thought of it. This is Sasha Celestial One, and she is the co-founder of an app called Olio. So let's find out if this can truly reduce your carbon footprint in a way that you didn't think. Thank you, Sasha, for joining us today. You have an app that is going to somehow cut my CO2 in ways that I may never have thought of. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. Well, it's really easy. 10%, nearly 10% of global carbon emissions come from food waste. So that's perfectly good food that's just not being eaten. And half of all food waste takes place in our homes. So if we as individuals reduce our household food waste, we can have a dramatic effect on global carbon emissions. So my app is called Olio. It's really simple. It basically is a modern equivalent of what humans have been doing for thousands of years. It connects neighbors in a community to share good food with each other so we can feed bellies and not send good food to landfill.
So, Jesse, you look a little skeptical there.
It seems a little hard to believe that such a huge portion of global carbon emissions could come from food waste when, we spend so much time talking about tailpipe emissions. So where does all of this CO2 come from when we're talking about food waste?
So the year before last, you may have heard of Project Drawdown. It was a massive global coordinated effort where 100 of the world's leading climate scientists came together and they stack ranked all of the different solutions to climate change. And they ordered them in terms of if we fix them, what impact it would have on the climate crisis. And food waste came in at number 3, well above, for example, electric vehicles and solar power and all of the typical things that one might think of as big systematic changes that we could make. And that's because the food system as a whole is responsible for almost a quarter of all global carbon emissions, everything from the farming to the harvesting to the manufacturing and the shipping and all of it combined. And when we throw away a third of the food that we grow, which we do globally, we're also throwing away those carbon emissions. So it's a bit of a double whammy. But also what happens is that when food goes to landfill, it goes in a black trash bag and it decomposes. It's buried on top with other trash and it decomposes without access to oxygen. And it creates this toxic stew which releases methane, which we all hear about when the cows are farting. But actually, we know it's a very toxic greenhouse gas and it's made by food waste. So that's how it happens.
And so how will Olio help with this?
Of course, when you're thinking about the climate crisis, you need to have big regulatory and systematic changes in place. But I think it's all too easy to overlook what impact we can have as individuals on a day-to-day basis, thousands of times a day when we make those micro decisions. And often a micro decision that yesterday I had a delivery from our online supermarket and they brought me 2 loaves of bread. And I looked in the freezer and I thought, you know what, I already have some frozen bread. I don't need 2 loaves of bread. So I took a picture, I put it on the app, and an hour or 2 later, someone came by, they picked it up. What that means is that they got a free loaf of bread. I said hello to Gwyneth, and she didn't buy a new loaf of bread at the grocery store. So when you take if you look at household food waste, the average American family wastes over $2,000 worth of food every year. So that's worth a really good holiday or, a brand new wardrobe. But because it happens in small chunks, we don't really notice it and we aren't able to put the dots together. But by tackling our in-the-home food waste, we not only, can help reduce our food waste and carbon footprint, we can also just live a nicer life because we're doing something nice for other people or benefiting from the niceness that other people, nice actions other people have taken towards us.
Thank you so much for watching. We're all about making the world better here on Now You Know. Everything EV, solar, batteries, technology, Tesla, and more. If that's something you're interested in too, check out our Now You Know channel content like Tesla Time News every Monday and In Depth every Friday. Now you know.